I wasn't supposed to be home that night. That's what makes all of this burn more. Not just the betrayal, but the fact that it all hinged on a single flight delay and a stubborn vending machine. The crew I was supervising in Phoenix hit a snag with the supplies, and while they scrambled, I sat in a dead terminal trying to make a bag of almonds drop. It didn't, but the machine next to it blinked a free soda code. Call it fate, luck, curse. I punched in the code and got a ginger ale and a sudden, wild idea. I booked the first flight back and never said a word to her. I didn't text her, didn't call. I wanted to walk through our front door and see that natural smile again. The kind she used to flash when I walked in with road dust on my boots. That smile hadn't made an appearance in weeks, and I'd been filing it under stress, under the grind, under maybe we just need a trip, some sun. But the air had shifted. You ever notice how some silences are too perfect, too sharp around the edges? That's what our calls had turned into. Sharp-edged silences padded with fake laughs and miss you's that tasted like cold soup. I got back just after 8 p.m. The cab ride from the airport was a blur of brake lights and too much thinking. I didn't even stop at the door. I went around back, quiet like I used to when sneaking beers as a teen. Lights were on inside. Too many. The living room, kitchen, even the soft glow from upstairs. Music was playing, not loud, just barely bleeding through the brick. Jazz. She never played jazz unless someone was over. She said it made her feel classy, like she was hosting an art exhibit. We hadn't hosted anything in months. I stayed low, my shadow crawling under the window as I slid out my phone. I told myself maybe it was her sister, maybe a friend from work. But her sister was in Chicago and she hated the people she worked with. Except one. Him. What I saw through that window sent something slick and ice-cold down my spine. It wasn't what they were doing, not yet. It was the look. She answered the door like she'd been waiting all day. That little twist she did with her hair. The fake surprise. He handed her a small box, wrapped in shiny black paper with a red bow. The kind you don't find at gas stations or casual runs to the store. She took it like it was a secret. They didn't go to the living room. Didn't sit. No drink poured. She took his hand and led him straight upstairs. Just like that. She didn't lock the door. Didn't check the windows. She forgot I existed. I recorded. I stood there, in the dark, my fingers cold, and I recorded every second. Not to show anyone. Not for revenge. Just because I needed proof this wasn't some fever dream. I needed it to be real because my heart was already breaking and I hadn't even heard her voice yet. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. And then she laughed. Loud. Careless. That laugh used to mean everything to me. I waited, like a ghost, until their shadows moved past the upstairs window. That's when I moved, not to leave, not to cry, but to walk in through that unlocked front door. And I did. Quietly. She left her heels near the stairs. That part felt insulting somehow. I didn't say a word. Not yet. I wanted her to feel what I felt. That slow burn, the crawling dread. I climbed the steps one by one, and halfway up, I stopped. Her voice. Light. Flirty. Then his voice. Deeper than mine, fake charm soaking every word. That was the moment it all stopped feeling like life and started feeling like a story I couldn't believe I was part of. I waited at the top step, and then I knocked on the door. Not kicked, not banged, just knocked. 3 times. Calm. Like I belonged there. The silence that followed was the kind you don't come back from. The knock echoed like a judge's gavel, quiet but final. I stood there, hands still in the air, my heart slow and mechanical, like it had stopped reacting to the firestorm behind my ribs. I heard the shift first, the creak of bed springs, a hushed thump of hurried movement. Muffled voices. One of them cursed. Not her, him. She opened the door wearing the robe I bought her last Christmas. It was barely tied. Hair a mess she tried to fix mid-panic. Eyes wide but not from guilt. From calculation. Why are you here? She whispered. Not even pretending to smile. Not, oh my God. I didn't know you were coming. Not even a flinch. Just those 4 words like I was the one who'd broken something. I live here, I said. That was all I gave her. I stared at the half-closed door behind her. Saw the edge of the bedspread pulled tight in a rush. The flicker of movement. Todd, pretending to be invisible. She didn't apologize. She didn't cry. She didn't stammer. Instead, She crossed her arms and leaned against the doorframe like I was the one interrupting something sacred. You weren't supposed to be back until Thursday. That was her defense. Her alibi. I stepped past her before she could block me. Todd stood at the edge of the bed like a bad actor waiting for his line. Still shirtless. Still holding his belt like it was going to save him. He opened his mouth to speak, and I didn't give him the chance. Just don't say anything. He shut it. Good. Because if he tried to shake my hand or offer some lame apology, I might have lost it. And I promised myself I wouldn't lose it. I turned back to her. So, what's the gift? I asked. What's in the box? She blinked. Then, like she was picking up a script from a dropped page, she smiled. It's not what you think. I actually laughed. Loud, sharp, bitter. It's exactly what I think. I recorded the whole thing from the driveway. Him. The box. You. The kiss. All of it. And there, for the first time, her face cracked. It wasn't shame. It wasn't remorse. It was fury. At me. For outsmarting her. For being early. For watching when I wasn't supposed to. You spied on me? She hissed. What the hell is wrong with you? That's when I knew. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even embarrassed. She was mad she got caught. Not once did she say, I messed up. Not once did she reach for me. All she did was turn the spotlight and try to paint me as the villain. Todd cleared his throat, and I swear, that sound might follow me into the grave. I looked at him, really looked at him, the haircut too perfect, the watch that cost more than our mortgage. The smug in his eyes he couldn't wipe off. You should go, I told him, and he hesitated like he thought she'd stop him. She didn't. He walked past me, close enough I could smell his cologne, the same one she used to compliment. When the door closed behind him, I waited. I gave her the silence she didn't deserve. Finally, she said, You're overreacting. It wasn't serious. It's been a stressful few months. And he was just there. While I was working 16-hour days out of state. While I was sending you money. Planning a weekend away. Fixing the damn leak in the roof you complained about. She shrugged. You work too much, she said flatly. You're never around. It just happened. It just happened? I repeated, voice dead. People trip. People spill coffee. Affairs don't just happen. She stared at me.
No te ars.
No apology. Just a woman who'd already rewritten the story in her head, cast herself as the misunderstood one, and was waiting for me to leave so she could text him again. So I left. I didn't yell. Didn't slam the door. I walked out with my phone, my keys, and a silence so heavy it should have cracked the pavement beneath me. But I didn't go far. I had one more thing to do before this was over. I didn't drive anywhere. I just sat in the car across the street, engine off, lights dimmed, and watched the front door like it was a stage waiting for the next act. She didn't come after me. I wasn't surprised. She was probably already upstairs, texting him some damage control or worse, cleaning up the scene like it was just another day. That's when I realized. She wasn't sorry because this wasn't the first time. You don't go from zero to full-blown betrayal in one night. This was rehearsed, perfected. He didn't look scared or guilty. He looked comfortable, like he'd parked in our driveway before, like he knew where the good wine glasses were. I opened the voice recorder app and played back the audio. Her laugh hit me first, then his voice, then the words. Hope you're ready for your surprise, he said. Oh, I love surprises, she replied, soft, like a teenager playing house. Then a rustle. Fabric? A kiss? Something soft but unmistakable. That sound, the quiet intimacy of it, made me want to peel my skin off. Not out of rage. Out of disbelief. Out of betrayal so thick it felt physical. I sent the file to my email. Then I uploaded it to the cloud. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew one thing. I needed more than words. She was too slippery for words. She twisted every sentence, rethreaded the truth into something unrecognizable. Proof was a mirror she couldn't shatter. I waited. 1 hour. 2. At exactly 11:17 p.m., a different car pulled into our driveway. Not Todd. Not anyone I recognized. A woman stepped out. Tall, polished, dressed like she walked out of a boardroom. She knocked. My wife answered. I watched them talk in hushed tones. The woman was angry. Her hands were tight fists at her sides. My wife stood in the doorway, nodding, pretending to be calm. Then the slap. Hard. Fast. Loud enough I heard the crack from my car. And just like that, the woman walked back to her car and peeled off down the street. I sat in the dark, stunned. Who was she? Another girlfriend? Todd's real partner? I didn't move. I let the shock roll through me like thunder. And then my phone buzzed. It was a message from her. No text. Just an image. A photo of my suitcase. Packed and waiting in the foyer. Get your things by morning. I'll be gone by 9. Don't drag this out. That was it. No explanation. No apology. Just a dismissal. She thought she was still in control. That this was her play to direct. But what she didn't know, what she could never predict, was that I wasn't leaving empty-handed. She took me for the type of man who backs down, who disappears. But I just started writing my part in this story. The suitcase sat there like a line in the sand, zipped, neat, clinical. She packed it like she was doing a chore, like brushing her teeth or taking out the trash. There was no note. No final player. Just that photo, a timestamp, and a warning wrapped in passive aggression. She wanted me gone, not because she was done, but because she wanted the upper hand. The quicker I disappeared, the faster she could spin the story. Victimhood. I could already feel it crawling out of her mouth. He was always working. We grew apart. It just happened. But I wasn't about to give her that neat ending. I stepped out of the car, not quietly this time. I slammed the door just loud enough to wake up the silence. Walked up the front steps. I didn't knock. I used my key. My house, after all, still was. For now. She was in the kitchen. Not surprised. A glass of wine in one hand, her phone in the other. She looked up, didn't flinch. I told you to come in the morning. You don't get to tell me when I leave. Her jaw tightened, but she sipped her wine. There's nothing left to say. There's everything left to say. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the counter, screen glowing. I opened the recording, let it play from the beginning. She didn't try to stop it. Didn't even blink. Just listened while swirling her wine like she was at some kind of art exhibit. When the recording finished, she finally looked me in the eye. You're really going to do this? Try to shame me? Make me the villain? You are the villain. She leaned back against the counter, that same crooked smirk forming. You think you're the first man whose wife got bored? You work like a machine, talk like a planner. You stopped being interesting the minute you cared more about drywall estimates than what I wore to bed. That one landed. Hard. But I didn't flinch. You're right. I did change. I started caring about our future. About stability. About a life. Meanwhile, you were busy playing dress-up with your boss. She set her glass down with a little too much force. Todd understands me. At least he makes me feel something. Like what? Expensive? Replaceable. She snapped then, voice sharp, spitfire. Don't act like this is just about him. You're mad because you didn't see it coming. Because you thought being decent would be enough to keep someone like me. I stared at her, and for the first time in years, I saw the stranger she'd become, or maybe always was. You're right again, I said. I didn't see it coming. But you know what I did see? I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small black flash drive. I backed up everything. Not just the recording. The texts. The photos. The emails you forgot to delete from the cloud you shared with our old laptop. Her face drained. I stepped closer. This isn't revenge. This is a boundary. You don't get to humiliate me and then act like you're the one picking up the pieces. Her voice shook slightly now. What are you going to do with it? Nothing. Unless you try to twist this. If I hear one whisper that I was abusive, neglectful, unstable, I hit send. To your firm. To your family. To everyone. It was the first time she looked unsure. You're not the only one who knows how to play this game, I said. The difference is I didn't start it. I'm just finishing it. I picked up my suitcase. She didn't stop me. Didn't follow. I walked out, not broken, but forged. Made new by the fire she lit under our life. And as I shut the door, I didn't look back. Not because I was over it, but because I finally understood what she really was. I didn't drive home. Because I didn't have one anymore. Not in the way you define it, walls, roof, someone waiting. I checked into a small business hotel on the edge of town, the kind with vending machines that eat your quarters and rooms that smell like nothing. It was perfect. Quiet. Empty. I needed that kind of emptiness to think. I laid the suitcase on the bed but didn't unpack. Just opened it and stared at how clinically she'd folded everything. Not a note. Not a stray hair. Not a mistake. She wanted it to look like she was erasing me. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop. The folder opened like a wound. Photos I hadn't seen. Screenshots of chats between them. My wife and Todd. Planning weekends. Sharing inside jokes. Her sending mirror selfies with captions like, "Guess what I'm not wearing under this." They laughed about me. My job. My hours. My loyalty. I scrolled until I couldn't anymore. Until the room felt like it was closing in and the walls whispered you were never enough. But I didn't cry. I opened a second folder. The one I created when I started suspecting things months ago. Receipts. Calendar overlaps. Odd mileage entries from her car. One photo from 3 weeks ago. Todd's car parked outside our house on a Sunday morning when she told me she was at brunch with coworkers. Every lie she told was now numbered, dated, cataloged. And yet, none of it made me feel better. Just more certain. The next morning I called a lawyer. Not to file. Not yet. Just to understand. I laid everything out. The cheating. The evidence. The emotional manipulation. I asked about the house, the car, the accounts. She had more of the lifestyle. But I had the truth. And the truth, when it's clean and documented, is a weapon no tantrum can fight. That evening, I returned to the house. Not to argue, to collect. The dog barked like he hadn't seen me in months. She wasn't there. Her closet was half empty. Not packed, stripped. She took the expensive coats, the perfume I gifted her last anniversary, the jewelry Todd probably complimented her on. But she made a mistake. In the bottom of the drawer I never used, I found it. A burner phone. Low end. Hidden behind an old scarf. I powered it on. Messages from numbers not saved in her contacts. Names I didn't recognize. Pattern. Todd wasn't the first. He wasn't even the second. This had been going on for a while. One message stood out. Dated 6 months back. "He's so stupid. He still thinks I love him. But he pays the bills and stays out of my way, so whatever." I stared at that screen until my vision blurred. Whatever. That's what I was to her. Placeholder. Provider. A fool. But not anymore. I backed up that phone too. Every message, every number. I copied it into a third folder. Then I changed the locks. Legally, I could. She was the one who walked out. She abandoned residency. I left a single envelope taped to the door. Inside, just one sentence. "You underestimated the wrong man." And then I drove off, my life in the rearview, but not my dignity. That I just reclaimed. 2 days passed before she responded. Not a call. Not a visit. An email. No greeting. No subject line. Just, "I hope you're proud of yourself. I lost my job today." Todd's wife sent those recordings to HR. "He's being investigated. You made this worse than it had to be. This could have been quiet." Quiet. That word hit harder than the rest. Quiet is what she wanted this entire time. Silence while she played both sides. Silence while she kept the illusion alive, parading around in our life like it was a costume she could toss in the closet when bored. I didn't reply. What was there to say? She wasn't sorry. She was spiraling not from guilt but from exposure. By the end of that week, I'd moved into a short-term rental across town. Bare walls, stiff bed, but it had light, real light, and for the first time in months I slept. Not well. Not easy. But deeply. The kind of sleep that comes when you're not listening for the lies between every sentence. Then the messages started coming. First from mutual friends. Texts full of hesitation. Things like, "Hey, I don't want to take sides, but I'm here if you need anything." She said it was more complicated than it looked. That things weren't working for a while. Then came the one that changed everything. From her best friend, Mallory. "You don't know me well, but I can't keep watching this. She told Todd she was going to bleed you for everything and make you look unstable so she could keep the house. Said you'd cave if she played sad long enough. I told her I was out. She didn't care. Just wanted to win. There it was. Not love. Not grief. Just the game. I saved the message. Added it to the file. I wasn't building a case. I was building a fortress. Because women like her, they don't walk away quietly. They come back. Not because they miss you, but because they miss the benefits. She did come back. Late one evening. No knock. Just the doorbell. A long press like she was daring me to answer. I opened it. There she was. Sunglasses at night. Like shame had a dress code. You changed the locks. You abandoned the house. She looked around the entryway like a stranger. Because now that's what she was. I need to get a few more things. You can list them. I'll leave them on the porch. Her face twitched, barely, like the control was slipping. This is petty, she said. This is necessary, I replied. She folded her arms, that same old defense. I was lonely. You were deceptive. I made a mistake. You made many. Then the dagger came, sharp and sudden. I never loved you the way you loved me. I just thought you'd never stop trying. That you'd chase me. I didn't expect this. I stepped forward. Calm. Measured. That's the thing about men like me. We love hard. But once we see the truth, we never come back. She stood there, silent. Maybe waiting for a crack in my voice. A plea. A last thread of weakness. She got nothing. Not because I didn't hurt, but because I'd finally understood the pain had a purpose. And it had carved the weakness out of me. She left without another word. I didn't watch her go. There's a specific kind of silence that settles in after betrayal. It's not peace. It's not relief. It's the sound of emotional scar tissue forming. The numb space where love used to be. I walked through those first mornings like I was haunting my own life. Showering, eating, replying to emails, but none of it felt connected. Just muscle memory. Autopilot. Until the call came. Not from her. Not from a lawyer. From Todd. His name flashed on my screen like a mistake. Like a glitch in the system. I let it ring out the first time. Let him sit in his own curiosity. Then I answered on the second try, and didn't say a word. He sighed, then spoke like someone trying to sound composed but leaking panic from the seams. Look, I didn't call to fight. I know I screwed up. Things got complicated. I stayed silent. She told me you were being vindictive, that you were threatening her. Said you'd ruin both of us. That nearly made me laugh. She was already doing that herself. I let the silence stretch until he fumbled again. I just want to be clear. I'm done with her. HR's crawling all over me. My wife left. My name's floating in the office like I started a fire. I don't want more trouble. Then you probably shouldn't have lit the match, I said calmly. He sighed again, this time like a man who realized he was out of cards. I just need to know you're not going to go public. I've got a career, man. I didn't respond with threats. I didn't raise my voice. Just told him what he needed to hear. Stay out of my life. That includes her. If I see your name near mine again, I won't talk next time. I'll act. Professionally. Legally. You're lucky I haven't already. He hung up. That was the end of that. And it felt hollow. No satisfaction. No justice. Just the slow unraveling of two liars realizing they weren't fireproof. A week later, I filed the divorce papers. No drama. No warning. Just an envelope delivered to her new address. A downtown apartment leased in a hurry and way above her solo budget. She didn't even fight the paperwork. Didn't call. Didn't cry. But I knew she'd show up one more time. And she did. Midday. No appointment. Just walked into the office where I was meeting the lawyer. Hair done. Nice coat. Makeup soft. The look of a woman trying to look like something she wasn't. Innocent. I just want to talk, she said. Eyes flicking to the lawyer, who stepped out of the room. You're getting what you wanted, I said. What else is left? I didn't think it would go this far. That line. You didn't think you'd lose control. That's what you mean. She sat down, as if she still had a seat at my table. I thought maybe we could do this without making it ugly. You did that when you invited him into our home. She flinched. I didn't mean to destroy everything. But you did. She looked at me, and for the first time, there was something behind her eyes that almost looked real. Not regret. Not remorse. Fear. Because she realized I wasn't the man she married anymore. I wasn't the easy one. The fix-it guy. The loyal workhorse. I was the man who survived her. You won't forgive me, will you? She whispered. I stared at her. No. And I'm done trying to understand you. She stood. Slowly. Like she wanted to leave a mark on the chair. I hope someday you see that it wasn't all fake. I already do, I said. That's the worst part. And just like that, she left. For real this time. The thing about final conversations is they don't feel final when they happen. They feel like every other fight, bitter, sharp, unfinished. But this one wasn't like that. It was colder, cleaner, like pulling out a rotten tooth and realizing the pain's been dulling your senses for years. After she walked out of that office, the air felt lighter, not joyful, just breathable. I signed the last of the paperwork that afternoon. Division of assets. No alimony. No drawn-out court fights. She didn't contest anything. Not because she felt bad, because she knew dragging it out would dig up more of her lies. She'd already lost her job. Todd had vanished into corporate damage control. Her new apartment was more appearance than comfort. She was slipping. Quietly. Desperately. I didn't check up on her. I didn't need to. Pain like hers leaves a scent. It travels. I started seeing the world again. Slowly. In pieces. The smell of good coffee. The weight of a Sunday with no expectations. The way a dog's tail can fix your mood more than 100 fake apologies. The silence of a room that doesn't hide betrayal in the corners. And then came the email. A simple subject line. You should know. It was from someone named Lacey, one of Todd's former assistants. She wasn't reaching out of kindness, just anger. Burned, bitter, and finally ready to talk. She attached screenshots. More messages. Different women. Same patterns. Todd wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was collecting secrets like trophies. And she knew. Mine wasn't the only marriage tangled in his wake. That changed something in me. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted her lies to be seen. I forwarded the emails to my lawyer, just in case. Then I opened a new document and started writing. Not for court. Not for friends. For myself. I wrote down everything. How we met. How she changed. How I changed. How it fell apart not in explosions, but in dismissals. In passive cruelty. In every moment she chose him and the other hims over the life we built. And then I wrote what mattered most. This doesn't define me. Because it didn't. It won't. I stopped looking at the past like a story I wanted to rewrite. Instead, I started seeing it as a book I'd finally finished. The next morning, I deleted her number. Blocked her on everything. Not out of anger. Out of necessity. Because healing doesn't ask for permission. It just begins. The first time I laughed again, really laughed, was over something stupid. A seagull stole a guy's sandwich right out of his hands at the pier. He just stood there, frozen, mustard on his shirt, disbelief in his eyes. And I laughed. Loud, real, painful. Because in that moment, life felt absurd. And absurdity is what grief gives way to before healing finds its way in. I started doing things I hadn't done in years. Not because she didn't let me. Because I'd stopped making space for myself long before the affair. I took long walks at dusk, just to feel the air change. I started sketching again. Nothing grand, just pencil on paper. Lines, shapes, thoughts. I even joined a local pickup basketball game at the park, where no one knew my name or what had happened. I wasn't that guy anymore. Just another dude who could hit a decent three. Then one day I ran into Mallory, the friend who'd sent the message. The one who broke the code and stood on principle when it mattered. She was at the bookstore, buying a gift for a niece or nephew. We talked. First just casually, weather, traffic, the usual nonsense, and then she asked how I was doing. Not in the polite way, in the real way. I'm surviving, I said. That's the first step, she replied. But it's not the last. We got coffee, then dinner, then another dinner. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. It wasn't even about her. It was about me. Realizing I could sit across from someone who knew what had happened and not feel shame. That I could talk about the betrayal, the anger, and not feel like it was the only thing people saw when they looked at me. Mallory never tried to fix me. Never told me I was too good or she didn't understand how someone could cheat on me. She got it. Because she'd been close enough to the wreckage to see all the parts. You know what your biggest mistake was? She asked me once. I shook my head. You thought being good would protect you. That hit hard. But it was true. Being good doesn't shield you. It just makes you feel confused when the bad things happen anyway. But now I knew better. You don't stay good to prevent pain. You stay good so when the pain passes, You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I still recognize who I am. By the end of the month, the divorce was finalized. Signed. Stamped. Official. I didn't celebrate. I didn't drink. I just went home, lit a candle, and sat on the balcony while the city pulsed below me. I thought about everything that had happened, everything she'd done, everything I'd survived. And for the first time since all of it started, I felt something dangerous. Hope. Not for her return. Not for revenge. For myself. For a life unshackled. For a story that finally had room to breathe. It's been 7 months. That sounds like nothing when you say it out loud. But when you live it, really live it, every day feels like a whole season. There are still mornings when I wake up and reach for a person who isn't there. Not out of longing, just habit. A ghost of a gesture. But now, instead of pain, there's distance. Clarity. The realization that some absences are blessings dressed in grief. People ask me if I'd take her back if she changed. The answer is simple. She did change, just not in the way I wanted. And even if she came back, draped in apologies and tears, I wouldn't touch that fire again. You don't rebuild on ashes. You find new ground. I haven't dated yet. Haven't wanted to. Not because I'm scared, but because I've been learning how to be alone without feeling lonely. There's a difference. Alone is peaceful. Alone is choosing yourself. Loneliness is craving someone else to fill the silence. And I've learned how to fill it myself now. I see her sometimes, by the way, not in person, in digital shadows. She posts carefully curated pieces of a life that looks nothing like the truth. Selfies with borrowed smiles, captions about growth. I don't follow her, but people send things. Or sometimes I stumble across them. It doesn't sting anymore. She's someone I knew, not someone I know. There's power in that. I got a dog. A rescue mutt with one ear that flops the wrong way and the neediest eyes I've ever seen. He follows me everywhere. Sleeps at the foot of the bed. Greets me like I'm the sun every single day. He doesn't lie. Doesn't cheat. Doesn't manipulate. Just exists, honest and open. And somehow that healed more than any therapy ever could. Mallory and I still talk. Sometimes a lot. Sometimes not for days. There's no pressure. No narrative to force. Just two people who were there for the same explosion and made it out with their souls intact. I kept the flash drive. Not out of bitterness, out of reminder. It's locked away in a drawer I never open. A museum piece. Not a weapon. Because I've already won. Not because she lost. But because I walked away scarred but still me. Because I stopped letting someone else's chaos define my value. Because I told the truth and stood in it even when it hurt. And because in the end, when all the noise fades and the lights dim and it's just you and the quiet, I can say this with complete certainty. She broke the marriage. But she never broke me. And that, above all else, is how I know I'm free.